Hello, my name's Charles and welcome to Shop Free Mart's YouTube channel. Today we have an audio broadcast. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, click the subscribe button, and if you wish to be notified of upcoming audio broadcasts or videos, click the bell icon as well. So without further ado, let's listen to today's broadcast.
Well, good morning. And actually, great day, everyone. I know that it's an amazing day to make a difference in your lives, and know that today is the first day of the rest of your lives. So this morning, we're going to be discussing the subject matter of the yeast beast. Oftentimes, it's called the chronic yeast infections, or Candida albicans. So Candida is a type of parasitic yeast-like fungus that inhibits typically the body, and it begins by way of coming through what is called the gut wall. Well, Candida can show up in various different areas of the body, and it's gotten to the point of where it is that people begin to wonder what exactly they do have. And I know that I had a diagnosis when I was 26, and I was told that I was going to be in a wheelchair by 36 because it was very aggressive, and it was a rheumatoid arthritis condition. And when I started taking a look at that, I wondered for a moment, like, what is really going on? Because I've ached in my joints since I was a young girl. And I'd often complain about the fact that I didn't like the cold. And my father would say, well, think warm, think warm, think warm. And then I understood that if you think long enough about something, that all of a sudden you become warm. And then I would think over the fact that I had these joint aches and so on. And I would think, well, I am free of anything that's going on in my body. Think it away. So I would just kind of like start thinking that, keep going, just get your head on something else and keep on plowing through this life, right? And so with that being said, it was like to always be an overcomer, to be an overcomer of something. And I know that in terms of life today, we look at it and say, well, can I overcome this? And so I want to be the news carrier of that great news, because you can become an overcomer. And yes, it does start with how you think, and does start with how it is that you manifest through your life, what you think about, to bring about. But I will tell you that this little beast got a hold of me to the point in which it is that I couldn't even think through another day, where it was like overtaking me from the littlest joint on my toes to the top of my spine. And it was, no matter how I moved, it was in constant pain. So that's when they gave me the diagnosis. And with that being said, I started to look into what that meant. And as I saw that there was a seminar that was taking place in a state near us, I said to my husband, I would like for us to go to that seminar, because they're talking about arthritis, and they're also talking about something, I believe, that's coming from Canada. Looks like an epidemic. But you know what? Since that's a C word called Candida, not knowing what it is, we could leave after they finish talking about arthritis. Well, here's the rest of the story. They started out talking about Candida. And the reason why they started out talking about Candida is because Candida covers all the multitude of everything else that was on the flyer. And it was talking about symptoms that were in the mouth, the esophagus, the throat, the genital areas, the bacteria that grows in the body, and it contains the weakening of an immune system, and it's called a suppression, and therefore that it can get in the bloodstream. And they went through a number of symptoms like constipation and diarrhea and abdominal pain and headaches and bad breath and rectal itching and impotence and memory loss and mood swings and canker sores and prostatitis, and it was congestion and nagging coughs, and they went through a litany of numbness in the face and extremities and tingling sensations and acne and night sweats and severe itching and clogging of the sinuses and PMS and burning tongue and white spots on the tongue, and it'd be called thrush, right? And extreme fatigue and vaginitis and kidney and bladder infections and arthritis and depression and hypertension and hyperactivity and hypothyroidism and adrenal problems and even to the point of diabetes. And it says if it gets worse, and it will be triggered in areas when you get into moldy places, and your smell sensitivity would be agitated. And you would love to consume foods that were related to yeast, like starches and sugars and complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. And it goes on and says that you will love dairy products. And I started looking at my diet and thinking, like, what is going on here? They then said that it can start out in an infant, and it could be like diaper rash, and it'd be a thrush for children, and it could be like itchiness, and it could be showing up like an eczema or skin condition. And I started thinking to myself, they have got to be talking exactly about me. This must be for me. And then they talked about the fact that it even could impact the mother. The mother could actually have issues with their breast nipples. Breastfeeding could become a problem. And it goes on and talks about the fact that it becomes systemic. And when that overgrowth takes place, that it gets to the point of where it's so severe that it's in that bloodstream, and it will invade the entire system, your organs, and causing some type of blood poisoning. And they call that Candida septimina. And with that being said, the condition only gets worse to the point in which it is that when it's in the blood, they call that even advanced issues or illnesses such as cancer or AIDS. So I started listening to this whole conversation, and I started imagining, like, what is going on in the world around us. And they said that Candida is an epidemic in the body. And I thought that it was an epidemic coming from Canada. So what I know is that today, if we look at the underlying cause of dis-ease in the body, underlying cause of disease or dis-ease, it starts out with dis-ease first and then shows up later as it manifests into a greater degenerative state of being, that it goes into what is called a categorization of all the symptoms into what you have. So that's the fourth stage of degenerative health. So understanding that if our immune system is weakened, and how did that all happen? Where did that all begin? It could become even athlete's foot or ringworm or jock itch or fingernail or toenail fungus. All the things that we're talking about here. Allergies. People say they have allergies. And when people are mentioning these kinds of, let's call it challenges, the real question is, what really is happening? One great book written that if you want to go and ever refer to a natural cures book, Kevin Trudeau writes well in the natural cures they don't want you to know about. And he talks about some challenges of how to never be sick again, and how to help your body get back into the homeostasis state. Well, homeostasis is, there's two levels of homeostasis, or should I say, the body has a chemical, bioelectrical balances. So you have a bioelectrical and biochemical balances. And when those are in balance, it's called homeostasis. Your body wants to be in balance. If it doesn't have its state in a balanced condition, it is counterbalancing, and there are mechanisms and systems set up for the counterbalance to be able to bring it back into balance. But we know that in all things that we have to go look at the underlying cause of the problem. Kevin Trudeau speaks about that well, and he addresses them from what is the disease main cause. And the main cause, and he'll make a list of like acid reflux, heartburn, gas, bloating, is Candida and parasites. And that's just a couple of what he's talking about. Acne, if you look at that, you'll find Candida. ADD, ADHD, Candida, and high fructose corn syrup and food additives. Allergies, Candida. Arthritis, Candida. Heavy metal toxicity, parasites. Asthma goes on to trapped mental emotional, and then Candida. Autism, viral infections, goes on heavy metal toxicity and Candida. We keep going on, and you can say bad breath is digestive enzymes, and bladder infections are parasites, and going back to various chronic fatigue, Candida, circulation issues, blockages in the arteries due to chlorine in the water you drink and you bathe in, and then goes on to say Candida. We can keep going on, and we look at all the conditions, be it constipation, cough, be it depression, all align themselves with diabetes. It can be kidney stones and inflammation, pain, back pain, dehydration. Might I need not say more. Understanding that the question is, how did your life start? So I went back and I studied this whole Candida yeast beast conversation, understanding that the body has parking lots, and the parking lots are the weak tissue. Now, I had a lot of parking lots, you must say, because I ached in every joint, and that was uric acid. The uric acid could have come from the fecal matter or the excretions from the parasitical yeast-like fungus, and it was infesting my whole entire body. So here's what was going on. My body had to find parking lots. Why was my body actually parking it? Well, because the mechanism of how our bodies were set up to ingest and then, process it through the system, small GI, large GI, and then excretion. So what happened for me is that I went to another seminar because there was a seminar called constipation, or it was bowel regularity and bowel issues. So I thought I'd go to this seminar and find out. Here's what I found out, that people that are constipated would have arthritis. Oh my gosh. Now, I called my mother. I thought to myself, what was regularity was every day, 3 times a day, minimum. I thought every third day was normal. I thought that was regularity. I called my mother at break, and she said, no, her regularity was every third day. So what did I have pass on to me? I'm going to say maybe a sluggish colon. So as a result of now reflecting back on my life, being now in my 60s, thinking back that at 26, I made a decision that I would never, ever be in a wheelchair. I would never have, crippled fingers. I did not want to have myself in a situation where somebody would have to care for me, because I had desire to care for myself and care for others. With that, I went on that quest, but I will tell you that I learned so much, understanding that the underlying cause of all my situation by way of challenges was Candida, and it was the yeast beast. So I went back and said, well, where did that begin? How did that begin? And Candida begins in and at the point in which it is that you're born. And it can even stem back before you were born. So I'm going to go back before I was born, because I was born breech. My mother and I nearly passed at the birth. With that being said, I learned that it's important to understand what's going on, why babies were born breech. I didn't look at that until about 6 months ago. And understanding going down the birth canal. So all of these C-section babies that are being born today, that all of our children's babies are being born with some C-section because at last minute there's a panic, right? Well, I'm wondering what exactly that means, but I will tell you that that is a setup for this little yeast beast and a suppressed immune system from the onset. And then the next thing, so the reason why I was born breech is that they say that there is a low amniotic fluid, and that means dehydration by the mother. And then when that mother has the baby, then if they're nursing, that's called the first most important food that the baby gets, because it's called colostrum. And the colostrum actually helps seal the gut lining, because it literally has peripheral holes in it, so that's how the baby gets fed, and that's how it eats for the 9 months in utero. But that has to be completed, just like the heart, continues to grow and complete itself. But here's what we know today, that colostrum is critical. And if it is that you were bottle fed, the probability of having yeast overgrowth is highly probable. Now, I was breastfed, but my mother and was so challenged at that point of birth, and what happened, that I'm not knowing that maybe the colostrum maybe didn't come in at the right level. Maybe the hormones, I don't know what happened. But I will say to you, since I was young, I had this challenge. And with that challenge being so severe, it just manifested over the years. And, of course, then you're attracted to the foods that you find desirable, and you keep feeding it. It's important to know also that when you're starting to feed a child, that the child should not have food before the body is prepared to receive the food. Babies are being fed at before 6 months of age with baby cereals, and that didn't come until like the 50s and the 60s when they started out with the baby food. It was not necessary. And so as the babies are fed, it's important. So understanding that diaper rash and thrush, and of course with our second child, he had all of those issues, and I had to stop nursing because that was the time in which I discovered that I had what is called an overgrowth of Candida. It got to the point for me where I didn't even know how to use the calculator, how to calculate numbers. I worked for government. I did land acquisitions, feasibility studies. I did multi-million-dollar projects, wrote council letters, and spoke publicly, bridging the private and the public sector. And I could not think. It was severe. So if there's mental acuity issues, don't be afraid to go after this beast, because it is our day. And there was an article that was in the April 6th New York Times this year that talks about this mysterious infection spanning the globe in a climate of secrecy. A rise of Candida embodies a serious and growing public health threat: drug-resistant germs. A germ, a fungus called Candida auris, preys on people with weakened immune systems, and it is quietly spreading across the globe. Over the last 5 years, it has hit a neonatal unit in Venezuela, swept through the hospital in Spain, forced the prestigious British Medical Center to shut down in its intensive care unit, and take root in India, Pakistan, and South Africa. Recently, Candida reached New York, New Jersey, Illinois, leading the Federal Centers of Disease Control and Prevention to add it to a list of germs deemed, get ready, urgent threats. Goes on to talk about a man at Mount Sinai died after 90 days in the hospital. But Candida did not. Tests showed that it was everywhere in his room, so invasive that the hospital needed special cleaning equipment and had to rip out some of the ceiling floor tiles to eradicate it. Everything was positive, it says. The walls, the bed, the doors, the curtains, the phones, the sink, the whiteboard, the poles, the pumps, said Dr. Scott Lauren, the hospital's president. The mattress, the bed rails, the canister holes, the window shades, the ceiling, everything in the room was positive. So they're looking at this conversation like it's so tenuous, and it's this antifungal medications that have been used no longer work. And so we have what is called an retractable health threat on the rise. Might I just say, antibiotics. One antibiotic is enough to throw the body off. One antibiotic. We take a look at inoculations, vaccinations. Another threat that actually is a suppression. So we start looking at all the invaders, not only in the water we drink, the food that we eat, and the air that we breathe. There are spores that can float, just as this article says. If everything was infested, then my question is it not in the air vents of this hospital? Is it not everywhere? It's just spores. It's invisible. Do you want to stay out of the hospital? I do. Do you start thinking about like what's around you? I do. And I can smell mold. I can pick this up in a moment. I can't go there. And to this day, I'm going to say I am grateful because of what this company, Shop Free Mart, has provided by way of products. After being involved in the wellness arena, lecturing on stages, and being an advocate for health, my challenge was still lurking me. I'm going to tell you, after 40 years of laying this thing down, trying to just change my diet, I had a weight condition where I could not crack the code on 200 pounds, and I didn't know what I was going to do because I was so uncomfortable. And as a result of taking care of what is called now, with understanding, start with the gut. Start with the gut, and you've got to go and seal the gut lining. And if you seal that gut lining, it's now with that colostrum that's called immunize that you get to the point of where you can now not allow that so-called food, undigested, going into your system and feeding the systemic issue. That's in your blood. It's everywhere. So that's the first thing. Then I know it's time to take a look at the product that's called Activate. Activate has an ingredient that's called chitosan. And the Japanese considered the chitosan to work as a cell activator because their remarkable binding and cleaning ability. But it literally attracts this so-called parasitical yeast-like fungus. And as a result of that, it ends up cleaning that element out of the body because it literally will destroy it. If you want to get to the point of where you have it destroyed, it has to have die-off. It literally is like adult parasites laying eggs and waiting for the next hatch. And it's typically during what is called that full moon phase. So the 2 days before the full moon, then the full moon, and the 2 days after. So you have a 5-day period that it's really active. And you might find yourself during that time, which is right now, that you have food cravings. You might be attracted to some more sugar or carbohydrates than otherwise. So it's time for us to look at this. To take that out of, activate into your program so that you can destroy what is called or attract this parasite yeast-like fungus, and so that it will destroy that exoskeleton. Think of it like a cockroach. Why it's such a beast is because it develops what's called a exoskeleton, and it will protect itself. So nothing can pierce it. Well, it's because of what's going on with this ingredient. It will literally pierce that exoskeleton and and it will die off. And the die-off will show up in various different ways. The die-off, for me, has shown up in the stool. It has shown up on my skin, like I have like a breakout. And I then have put myself in the bath with the mineralizer product. The mineralizer is, I made a wonder bath and a mix. And that wonder bath is the mineralizer with Epsom salt. I took a 3 teaspoons of mineralizer, the humic fulvic mineralizer, in the bath water with 3 round tablespoons of Epsom salt and a 1/4 cup of Enviro and 1 dropper of pure silver and a dropper of hydration drops, and I took a hot bath. And I took that every 3rd day. And my skin started to change. The healing was accelerated, and I've now been through that phase. So be ready. Your body's going to part with it, and I'm going to say you're going to see some unusual-looking things in the stool. Let it all go. I'm going to say because of the fact that your body has to get rid of these invaders in your system. Then when you take the Activate and you start this process, I promise you, you're going to begin to be hungry for those carbs. Get the sugar D at the same time. I had that whole sugar conversation under control. But I'm telling you, when I started taking this and going after destroying this beast, it reared its head again. And I was looking for sugar, I promise you. It was like, all right, what can I find? So as soon as I took that sugar D, I had no longer a craving for that at all. And so it's sort of like, I call it my manager. That sugar D manages my blood sugar cravings. It has chromium and vanadium in it. It has fenugreek in it. It has cinnamon bark, goat's rue to lower the blood sugar levels. It is there's an ingredient called gynema. It's called the destroyer of sugar, but it also is a potent weight loss ingredient. So it will curb the appetite and improve and promote the metabolism in the body. Now, here we are looking at this amazing story, knowing that we can also look at what we do at night. If your tongue is white, now take all the so-called suppressants out of your body, the deodorant that's aluminum, the toothpaste that's fluoridated, the water that's chlorinated, drink the distilled water with the hydration drops and really become hydrated, because you cannot have the body have the proper delivery of the nutrients because water is the carrier, and the hydration drops change the bond angle, and as soon as that water molecule crosses that cell membrane, it's called the water channel, it has an ion exchange. And the ion exchange is that it's a negative ion, and as it goes into that cell, all the water is the carrier of the nutrients. It opens up like a shower head inside of the cell, showers it with all of the goods that it's carried. If there is not the right bond angle, and if it's carrying garbage, it parks itself on the outside. And people typically say, I feel puffy today. I feel my eyes are puffy, or my ankles, I feel swollen. Okay, that's the carrier of the garbage in the system not moving. So it's not getting into the nucleus of the cell. It's lining the exterior of the cell, and that's where it's swelling. So all of what we're talking about here is anti-inflammatory, antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. We're talking about the yeast beast, the whole conversation. How can you be taking control of your own destiny? And with that being said, so now you've got the distilled water, hydration drops in it, and you can actually put that in your body, and you can actually increase the nutrient delivery with pure mag and decal boron. And there's gold, pure gold, for helping you with the IQ. It can be also with the copper. So all of these are elements. As you put that into your body, and I'm going to say one more thing too about the power of Vitalize. All of this is critical for us. But once that water molecule goes through that, penetrates across that cell membrane, it unloads the goods like a shower, and then it picks up the garbage, the waste. And the waste is now going to be aborted and escorted out. Is that exciting? Here we are today looking at this from I can have my body increase its assimilation and increase elimination with one called simple solution. Hydration drops in distilled water. That's the beginning. And as you then go after and kill what is called destroy the yeast beast, and you've healed the gut lining, and then you have what is called stem cells. And stem cells are in your body where all the damage is. Imagine all the joint tissue that my body had to heal. And so my body, your body, everybody's has what is called a warehouse. And the warehouse is full of stem cells. Those are your backup system. And the warehouse is full of stem cells so that when something happens, you get cut, you get a bruise, and it scabs over, however that is, your body says, we have need for repair. And it releases naturally the stem cells. As we age, that doesn't happen at the same level as it had in the past. So healing can slow down. So the Vitalize is a laminin product. It has the FGF, the fibroblast growth factor element, and it also has B12 methylcobalamin. And B12 is critical for our body. We cannot live without B12. but you don't want to take something that is invasive, like a cyanocobalamin B12. You need a methacobalamin. So methacobalamin is critical. So here we are today looking at how you can help your muscle growth. Your muscles are supportive to your bones. To keep your body composition right, you need to have muscle density. It has 22 amino acids. Amino acids are your proteins. So that's critical. If it is, you're looking at even sexual desire and libido enhancement. And this product is also patented. It is a double patented original formula, and Shop Free Mart has exclusive distribution rights. With that, I have to say, understanding that Vitalize is what is called the laminin stem cell product. That laminin is called the God molecule. You can even go Google that, and Louis Giglio talks about that in a very profound way, but it is a master, I'm going to say, need in every one of our bodies. And we do need the communication and the releasing of the stem cells so that the body can heal wherever it needs to heal, when it needs to heal, and at all times it needs to be on point. So we have what is called some solutions that is called simple solutions for major challenges. If we embrace the challenge, you can erase the challenge. And what it is that we resist will persist. And especially in today's world, understanding there's one more thing you can do is that when you go before bed at night, if you've taken that toothpaste out of your program called fluoride, you can go and create a toothpaste that is a Enviro product. The Enviro is non-cancer causing carcinogenic ingredients, aloe and coconut based, and you can put that in a hand pump, put a dropper full of the hydration drops and a hot dropper full of the silver, and then put in some peppermint oil and some spearmint oil, whatever it is you like, essential oils, and use it as your hand wash. And that is an amazing product because of the fact that it is antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, because silver, and this is not a colloidal silver, this is 200 parts per million, versus a colloidal is like 20 to 30 parts per million. This is minute, and that is your so-called antibiotic. As people say, do I have a replacement for that? Yes, you do. So now you have a nice, clean hand soap. You're not stripping that layer of protection off your skin every time, and your body has to go and build a new so-called outer layer to protect you from the invaders. So here we are today looking at all these simple solutions. That is also your toothpaste. So brush your teeth in the morning and night, noon, whenever you're going to brush your teeth. I like to brush my teeth, but it feels like they're slippery, like I just went to the dentist and got my teeth cleaned, and that's how they feel when you're done brushing with that. And then I have my silver bottle of silver on my counter, on my bathroom counter, and I take a dropper full of the silver and put that in my mouth, on one under my tongue and one on my tongue, so that I don't have any of that bacteria activity growing and manifesting inside of that mouth. But we know that oftentimes when they look at how the heart is invaded as well, that the bacteria that's going on in the mouth can invade the heart, and I know that I'm protecting my heart at the same time as I do that. So with that being said, I am excited about imparting information and allowing people to understand that they can take control of their own destiny. We don't have to put the Band-Aid over the problem. Today's the day that you have victory in your pathway.